In the year 2139, something strange happened. A signal came from deep space. It was not a normal signal. It was not from Earth. It came from far away, beyond any human-made satellite or probe. At first, scientists thought it was just noise. But then they found patterns in it. The signal had sounds that repeated. It had shapes like language. And it had numbers, coordinates pointing to a place near the edge of the Orion Arm. The signal was also a warning. Across Earth, space agencies and military stations started working together. They shared data, images, and sound files. Some parts of the signal showed heat readings, like from engines. Some parts showed massive ships, hundreds of meters long, moving through the dark. Other parts had strange voices, speaking in a language no one had heard before. The message was broken, like it had traveled for a long time and lost pieces on the way. But one thing was clear: something big was out there. And it had noticed Earth. The leaders of Earth came together. The United Earth Assembly met in New Geneva, a city built after the climate wars. People were scared. Some wanted to hide, others wanted to prepare for war. In the middle of all this, Admiral Claire Monroe stood up. She was calm, strong, and had led many missions in space before. She said Earth must not wait. They had to act now, or it could be too late. By her side was Commander Jacob Hill, a former pilot, and now one of the top military minds on the planet. He agreed with her. Admiral Monroe said, "We don't know if this signal means danger or peace, but we must be ready for both." Soon, news spread across Earth. People everywhere watched the signal on their screens. Kids in school, workers in factories, and families at home all wanted to know what was coming. Some hoped it was aliens who wanted to help. Others feared it was a warning before an attack. Governments worked fast. They started building new defenses in orbit, satellites with stronger sensors, lasers to protect the sky. But most of all, they approved something never done before: a plan to build a new kind of spaceship, not just to explore, but to protect. It would be the biggest ship ever made by humans. It would be strong, fast, and ready to fight if needed. The project was given a name: Project Valiant. Many people were chosen to work on it: engineers, scientists, and soldiers. The best minds from around the world came together. They worked day and night in secret labs, underground bases, and space docks in low orbit. Admiral Monroe watched everything closely. Commander Hill helped plan the systems and choose the crew. They didn't know what they would find out there, but they knew they had to be ready. While the work continued, the signal kept playing. Over and over, the same parts came again. The ships, the voices, the heat patterns, and always the same coordinates. Some people said it could be a trap. Others said it could be a call for help. No one knew the truth. But Earth had changed. People were now looking up at the stars with new eyes. They knew they were not alone. And so, in silence, under the dark sky, the world waited. The pieces were moving. A ship was being built. A crew was being trained. And somewhere in the stars, something was waiting too. The signal kept coming, and Earth was listening. Project Valiant was the biggest and most secret mission in human history. After the signal came from deep space, Earth knew it had to act. The leaders of the world came together and agreed. Earth must build a ship that could protect it from any threat. Not just any ship, but a warship, a star destroyer, something that could travel far, survive battles, and return home. The ship was named UNS Valiant. It would be the first of its kind. It would be stronger than any ship before it. It would have thick armor, heavy weapons, and a smart computer system to help the crew. The world gave its best people to this project. Chief Engineer Alan Brooks was in charge of building the ship. He was quiet and serious, but he worked harder than anyone. He had built space stations and deep space probes, but never something like this. He said, "This is more than a ship. It's a message. We are ready." Helping him was Lieutenant Nora Price. She was young, smart, and had a sharp eye for details. She had worked on space defense systems before. Now she helped design the weapons for the Valiant. She wanted the ship to be fast, powerful, and safe for the crew. They built the ship in low Earth orbit. Workers from many nations worked together. Some parts came from asteroids, full of strong metals. Other parts were made in space factories. Robots helped weld the metal. Drones moved the heavy pieces. The Valiant was not just big, it was smart. It had an AI system named Iris. Iris could watch the ship, control power, and help make fast choices in battle. Iris could not feel like a human, but it could learn and protect. The weapons on the Valiant were powerful. It had rail cannons that shot metal at high speed. It had plasma torpedoes that could burn through armor. It had laser turrets to stop enemy fighters. Every weapon was tested many times. Nora Price made sure of that. Inside the ship, there were rooms for the crew to sleep, eat, and train. There were labs, control rooms, and medical bays. It was like a small city in space. Admiral Claire Monroe visited often. She spoke with the workers and checked the progress. She said, "This ship must be more than strong." The day had come. The UNS Valiant was ready to leave Earth. People all around the world watched the launch on their screens. It was the first time a ship like this would leave Earth and travel to another star. Everyone felt proud, but also nervous. No one knew what the crew would find out there. The sky was clear. The Valiant stood above Earth, floating in orbit. Its engines glowed bright blue. The crew was on board. Captain Lena Harper stood on the bridge. She looked calm, but her eyes showed focus. She wore a dark blue uniform and had a small badge with a star. This mission would be her biggest test. With her were the best officers from around the world. Mason Lee was the navigation officer. He was quiet but very smart. He had trained for years to guide ships through space. Rachel Dunn was in charge of communications. She had a strong voice and a kind smile. She would speak to Earth and listen to anything from space. The bridge was quiet. Everyone waited. Captain Harper gave the order. Begin launch sequence. The engines started to hum louder. Power flowed through the ship. Outside, the thrusters lit up. Slowly, the Valiant turned and aimed toward the stars. The crew felt a small pull as the ship began to move forward. Admiral Monroe watched from a command center on Earth. Her hands were behind her back. She did not speak, but her eyes stayed on the screen. Commander Hill stood next to her. He said, "They're ready. Whatever's out there, they'll face it." The Valiant moved faster and faster. Soon, Earth was just a blue ball behind them. Mason Lee guided the ship carefully. They followed the star map and checked the signal again. The strange coordinates were still the same. Rachel Dunn listened closely to the signal. It was soft now, like a whisper, but it still played. The same sounds, the same numbers, the same strange voice. She said, "We're getting closer." The ship passed Mars, then Jupiter. The crew checked all systems. The engines worked well. The weapons stayed powered but unused. Iris, the ship's AI, helped with small tasks. It kept the crew safe and watched for danger. Inside the ship, the crew trained every day. They practiced emergency plans. They checked weapons and tools. They talked with each other and shared meals. Captain Harper made sure no one felt alone. She said, "We are one team. We fly together. We return together." After many days, they reached the edge of the solar system. This was the farthest any human had ever gone. Captain Harper stood by the window. She looked at the stars. "Prepare for warp jump," she said. Mason Lee set the course. He checked all numbers twice. The jump would take them far, to the place from the signal. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into lines. The ship shook for a moment. Then everything went quiet. When they came out of warp, they saw a broken moon. It was floating in pieces around a dead planet. There was no light, no life, but something else was there. Rachel Dunn pointed. Ships, many ships, not human. The alien ships were dark and sharp. They moved slowly but with purpose. Mason Lee said, "They look like they're waiting." Captain Harper did not speak right away. She watched the alien fleet. The signal was louder now, and it came from one of those ships. She said, "Hold position. No weapons. Just observe." The crew followed orders. They watched and waited. The alien ships did not move closer. Then one of them turned. It faced the Valiant. Lights came on. A beam of energy reached out. Rachel said, "It's trying to talk." Captain Harper took a deep breath. "Send our message. Say we come in peace." The Valiant had arrived, and Earth had finally answered the signal. The alien ship sent a signal back. It was not like any language the crew knew. It was a mix of sounds, clicks, and flashing lights. Rachel Dunn worked fast to understand it. She used the ship's AI, Iris, to help break the code. Iris compared the signal with known languages and patterns. Hours passed. The alien ship stayed still. The Valiant stayed still too. Captain Harper waited. She wanted to know more before making a move. She said, "No weapons, no sudden moves. We watch and we learn." Finally, Iris found something. The signal repeated a short message. Iris said, "Message detected. Translation possible." Rachel looked at the screen. The message was simple but clear. "You are not welcome. Leave now." The crew looked at each other. No one spoke. The aliens did not want peace. They wanted the Valiant to go. Captain Harper stood up. "Open a channel," she said. Rachel sent a message back. "We come in peace. We only want to understand." The alien ship did not reply. Instead, it moved forward. Slowly at first, then faster. More alien ships followed behind it. Mason Lee spoke quickly. "They are forming an attack line." Captain Harper gave her first battle order. "Shields up. Prepare weapons. Do not fire unless attacked." Nora Price was in the weapons room. She powered up the rail cannons and the plasma torpedoes. The ship shook a little as the systems came online. Alan Brooks checked the armor systems and made sure the engines were ready to move. The alien ships came closer. Then, without warning, one of them fired a beam of energy. It hit the Valiant's shield. The ship shook, but the shield held. Captain Harper stayed calm. "Return fire. Aim to disable, not destroy." Nora fired the rail cannons. Metal slugs flew at high speed. One hit an alien ship and broke off its wing. The ship spun out of control. Another torpedo exploded near two more ships. The aliens scattered, then regrouped. The crew worked together. Rachel tracked the alien signals. Mason guided the ship through the enemy. Alan made fast repairs as parts were hit. Nora kept firing with steady hands. More alien ships joined the fight. They were fast and moved like insects. The Valiant was bigger, but it was strong. Its armor held, and its weapons were powerful. Iris warned the crew. "Enemy reinforcements detected. They are not retreating." Captain Harper knew this was no mistake. This was not a simple warning. This was war. She said, "This was a trap. They sent the signal to find us." The alien fleet had been waiting. They saw Earth as a threat. They wanted to stop humans before they could grow stronger. The crew fought hard. Hours passed. Explosions lit up the dark space. One alien ship tried to ram the Valiant. Alan used emergency thrusters to push away in time. The crew felt the pressure, but they did not give up. Nora found a weak point in the enemy's attack line. She told the captain, "If we fire here, we can break through." Captain Harper nodded. "Do it." Nora fired a full round of torpedoes. They hit the spot. The alien ships fell back. The Valiant pushed forward. But they all knew this was only the beginning. This was just one group of enemy ships, a scouting fleet. Captain Harper said, "If this is just the start, then Earth must prepare. We have seen the enemy, and they will come again. The Valiant turned back toward Earth. The crew was tired, but their mission had only just begun. They had made first contact, and it was not friendly. The UNS Valiant moved through space at high speed. The crew was quiet. Everyone was thinking about what had happened. They had seen the enemy. They had survived the first battle. But they knew more was coming. Captain Lena Harper sat in her chair on the bridge. She looked tired, but her eyes were still sharp. She spoke to Rachel Dunn. "Send a message to Earth. Full report. Tell them what we found. Tell them what we faced." Rachel nodded. She began to type. The message would take hours to reach Earth, but it had to be sent. Earth had to know the truth. The crew took turns resting. Mason Lee stayed at his station, guiding the ship through safe paths. Nora Price checked the weapons and made repairs. Some turrets were damaged. One rail cannon was offline. Alan Brooks worked with his team to fix the power systems. Iris, the ship's AI, helped by giving updates and running scans. The signal from the alien fleet had stopped, but Iris picked up something new. Unknown object detected. Distance, 40,000 kilometers. No signal, no movement. Captain Harper stood up. "Put it on screen." A strange object appeared. It looked like a satellite, but larger. It was broken and floating in space. Pieces of metal floated around it. Alan Brooks looked closer. "That's not human. And it's old. Very old." The crew watched as the ship moved closer. The object had writing on it, symbols no one knew. Iris scanned the writing. "Warning. Do not enter. This sector belongs to the Xarn." "The Xarn," Captain Harper said. "We have a name now." The crew stayed quiet. This was a message from long ago, left in space like a sign on a fence. It told others to stay out. The Valiant had passed that line. Rachel said, "The signal we followed. Maybe it was bait. Maybe they wanted to see if we would come." Captain Harper nodded. "And now they know we did." The ship turned back toward Earth. They still had a long journey ahead, but they had the most important thing: information. Proof that a hostile alien force existed. Proof that Earth was not alone. Back on Earth, the message arrived. In New Geneva, Admiral Monroe read the report. Her face was serious. She called for a meeting of the United Earth Assembly. "We have made contact. The enemy is real. They are not peaceful. We were attacked. Our ship survived, but only just. We must prepare." Some leaders were shocked. Others were angry. A few still doubted. "Maybe we provoked them," one said. "Maybe it was our ship that scared them." Admiral Monroe answered calmly. "Our ship did not fire first. We sent a message of peace. They replied with weapons." The assembly voted to begin full defense preparations. Earth would not wait. More ships would be built. Space stations would be upgraded. People would be trained. The Valiant kept moving through space. The crew felt tired but proud. They had done their job. They had found the truth. Captain Harper walked through the ship. She spoke with her crew. She listened to their stories and thanked them. "You were brave," she said, "and you made history." Nora Price sat in the weapons room, fixing the last turret. "Next time," she said to herself, "we'll be ready." Mason Lee looked at the stars. "They tried to scare us away," he said to Rachel, "but now we know the path. We know where to look." Rachel smiled a little. "And Earth will be watching." The Valiant flew on, its engines glowing in the dark. Behind it, the stars burned quietly. Ahead, Earth waited. They had faced the unknown, and they were going home with a warning, but also with hope. Months had passed since the Valiant returned to Earth. The world had changed. People no longer looked at the stars with wonder. Now they looked with caution. The United Earth Assembly had begun building new ships. The shipyards in orbit were busy day and night. Engineers, builders, and soldiers worked together. The new ships were smaller than the Valiant, but faster. Each had strong weapons and thick armor. They were called Guardians. Admiral Claire Monroe watched the work from her command post. She had not slept much. She knew what was coming. The Xarn would not forget. They would come again. "Status of the second Guardian?" she asked. "Ready for testing," said her aide. "Weapons are loaded. Shields are online." She nodded. "Send it to the Mars Patrol. We need eyes everywhere." On the ground, people trained harder than ever. Young men and women joined the new defense force. They learned how to fly, how to fight, and how to work in space. Schools taught new lessons about the Xarn and the galaxy beyond. In space, the Valiant had been repaired and upgraded. New weapons were added. The engines were faster. The AI, Iris, had been given more control. It could now help with battle planning. Captain Lena Harper stood on the bridge again. She was ready to return to space. The crew was ready too. Some new faces had joined. Some old ones had left. But the mission was the same. Nora Price checked the weapons systems. Everything was working well. Mason Lee studied star maps. He marked all known areas and possible paths that Xarn could take. Rachel Dunn worked on the new communication system. It was stronger now. It could reach farther. She was also trying to understand the Xarn language. "If we can speak to them," she said, "maybe we can stop another war." Alan Brooks had built new drones. They could repair the ship while in flight. They could also scan for hidden threats. Before launch, Admiral Monroe spoke to the crew. "You were the first to face them. Now you must lead again. Find out what the Xarn want. Watch their movements. Protect Earth." Captain Harper saluted. "We understand. We are ready." The Valiant launched again. This time, it was not alone. 2 Guardian ships flew beside it. Together, they moved into deep space. They followed a new signal. This one was weaker than the first, but it had the same pattern. Rachel said, "It could be another trap, or a message." Captain Harper replied, "We have to know." They reached a quiet star system. It had 2 small planets and many asteroids. The signal came from the largest asteroid. The Valiant stopped nearby. Drones flew out and scanned the rock. Inside, they found a cave. And in the cave, an old alien base. Nora said, "No power. It looks abandoned." Ellen studied the metal. Same as the Xarn ships. But very old. This could be one of their outposts. They entered the base carefully. It was dark and cold. Strange machines lined the walls. On one table was a round object. Iris scanned it. Memory core detected. May contain data. They brought it back to the ship. Rachel and Iris worked together to unlock it. After hours of work, the screen lit up. A message appeared. It showed the Xarn homeworld, then images of other planets, all destroyed. And one message repeated in the Xarn language. "All who grow must be stopped. All who reach must fall." Rachel said, "This is not just fear. This is their rule. They destroy anyone who explores space." Captain Harper looked at the screen. Her voice was firm. "Then we must protect those who explore. Earth will not hide." The crew knew what this meant. The Xarn would not stop, but neither would they. The Valiant turned toward the stars again. The mission was clear: to defend Earth, to learn more, and to stand strong. The real war had not yet begun, but the defenders were ready. The stars were calm, but the crew of the Valiant knew better. Quiet did not mean peace. The warning from the Xarn memory core stayed in everyone's mind. Earth had little time. Captain Harper stood on the bridge. Her face was hard, her eyes focused. She looked at the screen showing Earth in the distance. Then she turned to her crew. "We found the truth. Now we must protect our home." The Valiant returned to Earth. News of the Xarn's message was shared with all nations. People were afraid, but they also united. Earth was no longer many countries. Now it was one world, standing together. Admiral Monroe led the final defense plan. Every ship, every station, and every weapon was prepared. Drones guarded the orbit. Guardians circled the moon. The Valiant stood ready. Rachel Dunn worked in the control room. She watched for signs of movement. Mason Lee updated star maps every hour. Nora Price tested weapons again and again. Alan Brooks checked shield systems and engine power. Iris ran simulations to plan for every attack. One night, the warning came. Multiple signals detected. Iris said, "Sarn fleet inbound. Estimated arrival, 30 hours." Admiral Monroe sent one message across Earth. "The enemy is coming. This is not a test. All defense forces to battle positions. This is Earth's final stand." In the last hours before battle, people on Earth looked to the sky. Some prayed. Some cried. Many stood silent, holding hands. In orbit, the Valiant waited. Captain Harper spoke to her crew. "This is why we explored space. To find truth. To face fear. We do not fight because we hate. We fight because we must protect." The Xarn fleet arrived like a dark wave. Hundreds of ships, some small and fast, others large and heavy. Their weapons glowed red. Earth's defense fired first. Lasers, torpedoes, and rail slugs lit up the black sky. The Xarn returned fire. Explosions shook space. Guardians flew in patterns, fast and sharp. Drones took hits and kept fighting. The Valiant led the center line. It fired nonstop, protecting the command station. Rachel tracked enemy movement. "They're targeting our energy sources." Mason adjusted course. "We need to draw them away." Captain Harper nodded. "Send the Guardians to flank. We hold the line." The battle lasted for hours. Ships were lost. Lives were lost. But Earth did not break. Then a new threat appeared. A Xarn command ship, larger than anything seen before. Its size blocked the stars. Its weapons were many. Admiral Monroe called the Valiant. "That ship must fall, or we all do." Captain Harper made her choice. Set course. All power to forward shields. The Valiant flew straight toward the command ship. Guardians followed. The enemy fired, but the Valiant held strong. Nora found a weak point under the main cannon. "It's exposed when it charges." "Now," said Captain Harper, "fire everything." Torpedoes, lasers, and rail rounds hit the weak point. The Xarn ship cracked. Fire burst from its sides. It began to fall. The enemy saw their leader fall. Their fleet started to scatter. Some ships turned and ran. Others kept fighting but lost direction. Earth's forces pushed forward, one by one. The Xarn ships fell. After many hours, the battle ended. Silence filled space again. On the bridge, the crew sat still. They were alive. Tired, hurt, but alive. Captain Harper spoke softly. "We did not win because we were stronger. We won because we stood together." Back on Earth, people cheered and cried. The planet was safe. For now. Admiral Monroe spoke to the world. "We are not alone. And we are not weak. Earth has stood its ground." The Valiant returned once more. It had become more than a ship. It was now a symbol. A symbol that when Earth unleashed its first Star Destroyer, it did not seek war. It sought survival. And it found strength in unity.